I had to change the YouTubes around because I have a guest that's going to be on the live. Okay. Let me just get everything together. Okie dokie. Yeah, this. And more things that I need to do. Okay, sorry. All right. So sorry. Just want to make sure everything is perfect. There we go. And actually, I can move that here. Okay. And let's get the Facebook ready. All right. That is going to be perfect. Okay. All right. As everything is coming up, give me a couple more seconds. I'm almost done. I'm almost ready. Y'all come on in. It's the Couch Chronicles and it ain't no fucking limits. It's not as easy doing all of this in a wheelchair like it usually is for me. Usually I'd be like, yeah, boom, boom. Everything is easy fucking peasy. But not this time. Not this time. But it's all good. We're gonna get taken care of. And I'm good to go. I know y'all probably like, damn, you throwing shit? Yeah, I'm throwing shit. But it's all good. Let me go get my stuff. And we can get it popping. Okay. All right. So the only reason why I didn't put anything up back here is because I'm expecting a guest, and I didn't want it to be too much. You know what I mean? Hey, lovely, how are you? But anytime I have somebody that's live with me, you'll be able to see their face back here. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. I think it's cool. I think it's, an easy way for us to be able to keep up with who's talking. Because sometimes, because I'm on different platforms, sometimes I have people talk from different platforms. So shout out to everybody that's tuned in. It is the Couch Chronicles, and it ain't no fucking limits. I do this every Monday, Tuesday, I ain't got to tell you. Y'all already know. It's time
For the Couch Chronicles, where there ain't no fucking limits.
Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 Central Time. You don't never want to miss a couch. Trust me, there ain't no fucking limits. I said none.
And I mean none.
Tell me no lie.
Yeah, come on in, come on in.
Tell me no lie. Tell me no lie.
And you didn't try to save me. You just kept lying to my face like I am crazy. Why you gotta lie to me? Why you can't tell me the truth? Why you keep playing me, man? It ain't cool. Stop making up these stories. It ain't true, and it's so true, so true. I don't know if I can trust you, but how am I supposed to? If you always lie, me and my eye, don't get it here. What you gotta say? If you only lie, tell me no lies. Tell me no lies. And swallow your pride. Tell me no lies. Tell me no lies. Just tell me no lies. Tell me no lies. Tell me no lies. And tell me no lies. Swallow your pride. And tell me no lies. Tell me no. Read me like a book, don't skip no pages. Always tell the truth or I'ma hate it. I can tell when you been faking, so you can stop that frontin', boy, you ain't shit. You ain't gotta lie to me. You should always keep it 100 with me. And if you and it's so true, I don't know if I can trust you. If you always lie, look me in my eye, and I don't get it here, what you gotta say. If you only lie, tell me no lies, and swallow your pride. Tell me no lies, just tell me no lies, tell me no lies, and tell me no lies, swallow your pride, and tell me no lies, tell me no lies, swallow your pride, tell me no lies.
Okay, I just sent you an invite on Facebook.
Tell me no lies, tell me no lies, tell me no lies, tell me no lies, swallow your pride. Tell me no lies, tell me no lies.
Tell me no lies. And I mean none. Don't you get sick of people that say that they love you, but they sit in your face and they tell you these lies? Ooh, I don't know about y'all, but that affects my mental health. And today is Mental Health Talk on the Couch. I am waiting on the gorgeous MaryAnn to come on up. She will be joining us on Facebook Live. So you will see her face back here once she joins in on the live. Actually, I think I can pull up the live right now as we are, well, as I'm live, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's okay. I see that some of you guys are at work right now, and it is completely okay because it happens. Motherfuckers gotta be at work. Shit, bills ain't gonna pay itself, right? So shout out to everybody that's tuned in, that's at work, that can see this and that comes back and that actually rewatches the couch and that shares the love and spreads the love, because it's all about love, positive vibes, and good energy. Now, don't get that twisted. Don't ever get it twisted thinking that I'm up here trying to preach to y'all. It's no. Mm-mm. I'm not trying to preach to y'all. I'm just speaking my truth, and I want to hear y'all truth as well. So don't even trip. Oh, I done went all the way to Susie's page. I'm trying to get to the. Anyways, like I said, it is Mental Health Talk on the Couch. If you have a story that you would like to share, or if you have a question, once we get our guest up here, you are more than welcome to ask. So as soon as she gets on up, we'll ask some questions. I do have some. I think I got maybe too many questions, but I got some questions. Y'all know how I get down when I be wanting to ask a question. Okay, so let's see if we can stay on the live. Sometimes I don't really know how this works. Okay, there we go. I think this is it. There we go. Okay, so once our guest comes on, she ain't gonna be stuck like I am. She gonna be right on up there. So it says, I'm watching at work. Yes. Okay, drive safe. Don't crash, because trust me when I say, sometimes we get on these phones. Ooh, don't let the phone distract you. Anyways, I hope everybody is doing okay. I'm sending positive vibes, love, and energy your way. I know sometimes we let our lives get the best of us. We let our struggles, okay, I will. We let our struggles get the best of us. But no worries, because you're not the only one that's struggling. Trust me, we all are struggling and we all are going through it. So let's just the best that we can. I sent you another invite. You may have to come out and then come back in and send me one as well. Let me see. I don't know why. Okay. Yeah, you may have to come back out and come back in and do it again. But yeah, we let our lives get the best of us, and we end up forgetting to check on our friends. We end up forgetting to do the things that we normally would do. Oh, okay, let me see. Hold on, MaryAnn, I'm about to text you. Try to. Okay. I forget that sometimes whenever you start texting, it takes away the things that's going on back here. But let me try to see if I can send you another invite. Let's see. It says that you have to accept the one or cancel the one that I sent you. Accept or cancel. Try to do either or if you can. If not, let me know. We can try to add you onto something else. But I do have questions for Miss MaryAnn, and I'm super excited to hear from her. She is all the way in Michigan. So I'm going to let her tell you guys more about herself once she does join on. In the meantime, let me see if I can do it myself again. Okay. Try to exit and then come back in. Hey, my love. Sending positive vibes, love, and energy your way. So it is mental health talk, and I do want to tell you guys how I'm feeling mentally. I know I don't normally come on here and be like, yeah, my mental health, but listen, since being in this chair, I haven't really been in the best spirits. Like I try to be, and then sometimes I find myself like, fucking woe is me. And it's not that it's woe is me, because it's not woe is me. I'm just in the fucking chair right now. But when I can't do the things that I used to do, or the things that I'm used to doing, it frustrates me. It frustrates me. It frustrates me that I can't get up out this chair and start recording stuff like I usually do, or get up out and do the news you can use on the couch, or it frustrates me. And actually, sometimes I don't even know exactly how I feel. I just know that I feel something, and it doesn't feel good. It's not something that I'm like, this is a positive vibe right here. And it's not. It doesn't feel good. And I want to find, better ways to not think about, this chair. Thank you. To not think about the things that I'm missing out on, or not think about the things that I can't accomplish because I'm in this chair. I have to focus on, okay, I'm in this chair. I'm going to be out soon. and everything is gonna be okay. I'm not gonna be in this bitch forever, but it doesn't stop the fact that I still get sad about it. It doesn't stop the fact that I still get whatever I feel. I don't know exactly again what I feel, but it's something. It's something, and it doesn't feel good. So my mental health lately has just been here and there. Hello, Miss MaryAnn. Welcome, welcome. I am well. Let me turn you up.
I have to get help from my IT professional, my son. Thank God for him.
Exactly. I'm ready for you. Number one, thank you so much for coming in on the couch.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Honor. It's an honor to be invited. Thank you.
Yes. Can you tell everybody where you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yes, of course. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Actually, I was born and raised in Little Hamtramck. So culturally, I'm Polish. And now I'm living in the suburbs.
Mhm.
I want to introduce myself as a recovering alcoholic.
Mhm.
I'll have 30 years clean and sober on June 23rd.
Yes.
June 22nd, 1994 was my last drink. And my life has just changed dramatically since then. And I decided to go back to school because I wanted to find out what the hell happened to me and how it happened. So my curiosity about my situation set me back to gain some knowledge. And very slowly but surely, I worked my way to where I am now. And I have my master's degree in clinical psychology, and I'm in private practice. And my specialty is addiction.
That is very beautiful. And I didn't know that your specialty was addiction. That's actually pretty dope. How long have you been a counselor, therapist?
That started a long time ago, too. That started in 1996 with 2 years sobriety. And I was involved just at the associate's level at Oakland Community College. I had to get an internship. And so I found a little clinic in Berkeley that outpatient substance abuse counseling. And they took me under their wing and trained me extremely well. The owner was a recovering heroin addict. And he really taught me a lot. And boy, between being in a residential treatment center and working with addicts, I have gained so much knowledge.
Wow.
And I've also learned that, you know what, it doesn't matter if you're drinking Carlo Rossi cheap wine like I was, or the cheapest vodka on the shelf, or you're doing heroin or smoking crack. It doesn't matter what the substance is. The problem's the same, and the solution's the same.
Exactly.
So that's a lot of things people don't understand, but addiction's addiction, no matter what it is, and the treatment's pretty much all the same for all of us.
Wow. Now, for those who have trust issues with therapists, counselor type people, what do you do to ease their mind?
You know what, Janelle? I do what they teach you in therapy school not to do. I tell my story, and I talk about myself, including all of my defects and flaws. I want people to be able to relate to me. I'm not a special person. I am equal to everybody that comes to a session with me. That's my credibility.
Right.
That's my credibility. You know, I've been there, and I've been through a lot. So I think that when people can see, and you know what, I didn't have that in my addiction.
Right.
I didn't have that until I got forced into a treatment center, and I learned about AA and the commonality that we all had the same problem. Even in the treatment center, didn't matter what substance it was.
Right.
I felt there's a bond, and the bond can't be broken.
Right.
So that's what I learned. I learned in AA. I learned how to live again.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did someone force you at first to get into AA, or?
That's funny. Actually, it's not funny. My alcoholism was so severe, and I think I knew it on some level, but I was afraid to put it down. I didn't know how I'd be able to cope with my life. I had 4 little kids and a husband that was difficult. I was afraid that I would go crazy. I would go crazy if I didn't have some kind of a sedative in me. So yeah, I got so sick. My whole face is jaundiced. Liver problems were setting in, and my ex was a physician, and he got a court order from Oakland County Circuit Court, and through probate court, I had to go to treatment. I had to go to treatment. So very few people walk in by themselves and say, "Help me, I can't stop."
Right.
It's usually an ultimatum from a girlfriend or a wife, or an arrest, or 2 or 3 or 5, or a job, or losing more than one job, or health problems that gets somebody the bottom, we call it.
Right.
You have to hit some kind of a bottom.
Right.
And mine would have been death if somebody hadn't forced me. And I'm one of the lucky ones, because you know what they say is 1 in 100, 2 at most of us make it.
Right.
So I have a lot of gratitude. But you know what? I'm grateful that I followed the orders, because I was discharged from the rehab. They said, "You're a very sick woman, and if you don't go to AA once to twice a day, you're not going to make it." And I found my people. As they say, I found my tribe, and I learned how to live.
Right.
So I think I was at my end. I was like a drowning person, and somebody sent me a lifesaver, and I chose to take it.
Right.
And I had four kids at home. You know, and being in rehab and getting sober after the first few days, it was like, oh my God, how in the hell, what happened? How did I get here?
Right.
I couldn't even believe it.
Right.
You know, in high school, you're voted most likely to succeed, or most likely to be a nurse, or most likely to be the next president. You know, if my high school friends in nursing, I'm also a registered nurse, but that's for another session. But if those people, you know, knew that I ended up in rehab, they would never have believed it. I just, you know, it can happen to anybody.
Yes, definitely. And you know, addiction comes in many forms. For those that don't know, I've talked about addiction before, because I was addicted, and I didn't realize how addicted I was until it was time to let go of the addiction. And it was like, wait a minute, I be talking about people being addicted, and look at my dumb ass. I'm addicted. And I literally was so addicted that, and people were like, oh, well, it's not a drug, so it's okay. People do this. I'm like, no, when you excessive about it and you can't think about nothing else but that, and you put things to the side just to do that, it's an addiction.
Yeah. And you know what we call that? Unmanageability. Life unmanageability. And I thought, my life's not unmanageable. I mow the lawn, I clean the house, I cook every day, I take care of my kids, I get where they need to go. Despite the fact that I was falling off bleachers half the time, or, you know, nobody could have convinced me that life was messed up, because everything was perfect on the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it really took AA to let me see, you know what it is people who don't understand can't relate to you. It's very difficult to change and get better. But when I walked into those 12-step rooms, those meetings, and everybody was like me, the shame dissipated. Felt like, oh my God, I'm not the only one.
Right.
Look, people. And it didn't matter where I was, in Birmingham or Bloomfield or Detroit for a meeting. It didn't matter. We're all the same. So I felt listened to for the first time in my life by people at those tables, because they had been through the pain that I had.
Right. Why do you feel that you were addicted to drinking? What pushed that onto you? Like, what was you going through that?
Yeah, what was I going through? I'm going to give you the secret right from the beginning.
Okay.
I was living a life that I was unhappy with and frustrated with, and couldn't see a way out of it. I felt totally out of control and stuck and helpless and hopeless. And I didn't relate it to the alcohol. I mean, I started drinking to cope with that. Let's just put it that way. I started drinking to cope with what I didn't even know was anger, frustration, depression, anxiety, hopelessness.
Right.
Helplessness. It calmed me.
Yes.
And then it stopped working. And then I'm fast forwarding. And then I kept drinking just because my body needed it, because I had to get my fix.
Right.
You know, I wake up in the morning shaking. But when it worked, it made me forget about how shitty I was feeling every day.
Right.
But, you know, it sucked real bad when it didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
But I still had to go buy a fifth or a big jug of wine. You know, just like a heroin addict. Somebody who's addicted to crack or heroin. I just had to get my fix. I'd wake up shaking. And once I got that first drink down, then it was just like, okay, I feel better now. And it was just constant, 24/7.
Wow.
But I didn't, you know, it took me, like I said, rehab and AA to really find out what the roots of all those issues were. Why didn't I just leave the marriage?
Right.
Right? Why? It sounds so easy, right? Get up and move. Well, and you have 3 kids, and then getting pregnant in my addiction, and drinking the whole 9 months like crazy. That didn't even stop me. You think, oh, I'm pregnant, I'll stop now. So I was basically told one time, I was somewhere at my wit's end, and that was back in the days of the Yellow Pages. Oh, the phone book, and try to find.
Oh yeah, I remember the phone book.
and it just reminded me of something else too. I was raised in a family that didn't believe in therapy or psychiatrists or counseling or psychotherapy. No, you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you like, what are you talking about? Depressed?
Right. Better get it together, right?
Yeah. And I would have, you know, conversations, call my mom in the evening and talk to her, and she would just say, you know, MaryAnn, you just have a big mouth. You need to do what your husband tells you to do and keep your mouth shut. Do his laundry, wash his clothes, cook his food, keep the house clean. Just don't talk. That's what she told me.
Wow.
You take it. That's what you chose. So, but back to that therapist. So I went to a therapist one day. Kids were little, and he said to me the magic words, but I didn't get it until later. He said, you know what? You either have to divorce or you have to accept him for who he is. And I felt totally helpless and hopeless after that, because neither of those options were right for me at the time.
Right.
Or I was afraid to do, you know, I'm not going to accept him. He makes me drink. His behavior is unacceptable.
Right.
But a divorce, and what was I going to do? That just didn't sound, I didn't know how to do that. I was too scared. But once I got sober and started to change and become more courageous and gain more self-esteem and recognize his self-worth, it took me a while, but I was able to do that.
Wow.
Build a new myself.
Wow.
Yeah, my daughter asked me one day, instead of picking up a glass of wine, Mom, why didn't you just go see a therapist? I said, well, in my house, booze was acceptable. You have a shot. Settle down.
Yes.
Like I said before, they didn't believe in therapy, so that was not part of anything that I could find acceptable or believe in. There's a whole lot more about family issues too, because an addict makes their whole family sick. But that's again something, I don't know if you want to talk about that today or talk about that at another time.
I'm with whatever, but I do want to pause. If you guys are just now tuning in, it's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no fucking limits. I do this every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 Central Time. Make sure that you follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, and Big O. Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram, and my main YouTube Instagram and my .com, which is THA real JANELL. Also, make sure that you follow my guest MaryAnn on all social media. Her information will be in the description. And if you're watching on other platforms besides Facebook, you will be able to see her behind me, and you will be able to hear her as well. And if you're listening on Spotify and Pandora, shout out to y'all. Shout out to my couch potatoes. It's Mental Health Talk. And Miss MaryAnn is a therapist in Detroit, Michigan. Now, I do have more questions if you are.
I'm ready.
Now, what makes you a good therapist?
What makes you a good therapist? Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't know I was a good therapist. I thought I was. You know, that's such a good question. I had a professor way in the beginning at Oakland Community College who taught us about a therapist by the name of Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers believed that everything's about the client. Not about me at all. Everything's about the client. So I have to always center on the client. But there's also something called unconditional acceptance. That no matter what is going on with that person, who she is, who he is, what's going on, there's a love and acceptance there with radical, non-judgmental attitude. Seriously. Like acceptance totally. And you know, I knew when I heard that I was going to follow this therapist called Carl Rogers. And his techniques, and I studied his techniques, and I truly believe that if you radically accept your client for who they are, where they are, and why they have their problems, the patient feels the patient feels that. There's no criticism ever. So I think that that's my strength. And again, the street cred, with addiction, I've been there, and that means a lot. I think, you know what? If I could have talked to at least one other person with my problem when I was at the really end of my addiction and getting sicker and sicker, that could have made a difference. But anybody talked to me. I had family who was pissed off, family who didn't understand, who just told me I need to quit. Nobody who was in the same situation I was. I guess they didn't think to call anybody like that in to talk. We didn't know anybody. I was the only one with that problem at that time. I mean, my husband didn't drink other than socially. But I learned a lot in rehab. I learned a lot about family and where it all came from. And I had a real genetic predisposition. So, and if you have any questions as to, you know, whether you're an addict or not, it's always good to remember where you came from biologically. And if you have substance abusers or addicts in your family, the probability is pretty high that you have too. But our environment is too. You know, like I said, when I grew up in Hamtramck, there was always a bottle in the cupboard by the refrigerator, and that was medicine. I was taught that have a shot. That's But then in rehab, I was able to see that my mother was an alcoholic, her father was an alcoholic, her sister was an alcoholic, her brother was an alcoholic, but I didn't realize it until I got it.
Wow.
Until I was ready to accept it.
Why do you think therapy is important?
Go ahead.
Why do you think therapy is important?
Again, for that very reason, to be heard.
Yes.
That somebody look you in the eye and really listen to you, really hear you,
Right.
and still accept you. I can remember being at an AA meeting very early on in my sobriety, taking like months, and I broke out in tears. I don't know if any of you guys have been at an AA meeting. You can imagine like a hall and like a wedding, like a small wedding filled up with round tables, and maybe 8 or 10 people are sitting at these tables in the church hall or something. And I was sitting at my table with, some of my people. And I was talking in the middle of my share, we call it, and I realized that everybody was looking at me. Everybody at my table was looking at me, right in my eyes. And I started crying, and I realized nobody had ever listened to me in my whole life. Not like that. Really feeling somebody's caring. That's why therapy is important. And also, maybe there's nobody else in your life that you can trust. A therapist is an objective person.
Right.
I might not be right for everybody, but if somebody can see that I am listening and I get it, maybe we can build a trusting relationship, a safe, trusting relationship.
Right.
And for some people, that's the first safe, trusting relationship they've ever had in their lives. That's what I thought AA. Now I do have a therapist that I see every now and then for problems. We all have a million problems. And it's still a very, how can I say, intimate relationship. I can tell him anything and everything, and he won't judge me. And he'll still help me.
That's beautiful.
That's why it's important.
Right. What would you say the biggest issue is in a mental health care?
I think the biggest issue is that there are so many, what can I say? People just can't find the help that they need, especially people with low income who don't have insurance. If you got insurance or you got money, there's no problem. So for the low income or the unemployed person, it's access. It's not accessible for the people who need it.
Right.
That's why my again, people that know and love me, or family members, they just don't understand. I see clients are what they can afford to pay me. If you don't, I don't take insurance now, for example. If you can only afford to pay me $15 or $20, my cohorts or my people I used to work with, they charge $100 an hour for therapy. Is pretty much $120. Insurance will pay $140 if you got good Blue Cross. I'm humble, and if you can throw me 10, 15, $20, I'm ready to help you. And that's, people will not do that. It's difficult to find.
Right.
That's the biggest problem in mental health. And it's getting better, but because before even insurance companies didn't want to pay for mental health care. So at least we got that. We got them on board, but it's not enough.
Right.
And people don't know that they can contact their county health care department because there are grants through the county that you live in for free, low-cost health care at good places. Well, shout out to the county for helping out. But you don't always have your choice of who you go to or where you go to.
Oh, I'm writing down. I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes from what you're saying.
Every county has a community mental health department, and or substance abuse access point.
Okay.
Every county, people don't know this. And
Yeah, I definitely didn't. So, and it's good to know.
Pardon me?
I said I didn't know that, and that's why I wrote it down. It's good to know. This is stuff that I need to know.
For a place in Oakland County in Berkeley for over 20 years, 25 years. And we had one of those contracts with Oakland County. And most of our clients, what we call, were county funded. It's a lower, it's a lower fee than big insurance companies. But for me, it was amazing what they reimbursed me. So we were able to access a lot of people in the community that didn't have insurance at that clinic. Right. And there are many clinics out there like that.
Wow. So if you guys listen, I'll make sure that I put this in the description as well. This is important information that we need to know. That's why it's important to do mental health talk every month, because you never know the information that you might gather from any time that we do it. And I make sure to do it every month because it needs to be talked about. It is so important. It's so important. We can't keep letting things slip under the rug like fentanyl. I talk about fentanyl every month. It has to be talked about. Has to be. Mental health has to be. Prison talk, it has to be. These things need to be talked about. It needs to be talked about. So if it's not important to you, I'm definitely going to make sure that I make it important to somebody. Somebody's going to end up watching. They're going to be like, you know what? I needed that information. So if you just now tuning in, it is the Couch Chronicles, and it ain't no fucking limits. I got Miss MaryAnn all the way in Detroit, Michigan. Thank you so much, Miss MaryAnn. I got more questions if you still got time. Y'all make sure that you follow her on all social media. Follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, and Big O. Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram, and my main YouTube Instagram and my .com, which is THA real JANELL. Like I said, I got more questions. Now, what is pertinent information that you need to take on someone as a client?
None.
Okay.
It just needs the willingness to change.
Facts.
That's it.
I love that.
Willingness to change. And okay, let's get into this. Honesty and humility.
Yes.
But a lot of times, that takes a while for those two things to grow. So the willingness to change, recognizing that my life's not going so well. And everything I'm trying to do to cope with life on life's terms isn't working.
Right.
So, I like to say that my bottom was pretty much going to be death if nobody had been with the legal system.
Right.
You guys out there, you don't have to wait till that. You don't have to.
Right.
You can create your bottom now. And say, you know what? I've had enough of this. I can get some help before I'm dead, or something else happens before I get another ticket, end up in jail or prison.
All right.
I can now. It's like an AA would say, you can get off the elevator at any floor you want. You don't have to go down to the basement. Unfortunately, I ended up in the basement.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You don't have to wait till you're 40 or 50 or 60 or have. You don't have to. You don't have to go to rehab. You don't have to go to jail or prison first. You don't have to. They're not prerequisites.
Right.
You can prevent.
You can stop it now.
Yeah. You can stop it now.
Right. Now, how are you able to help others handle their emotions and issues and deal with your own emotions and issues at the same time?
Well, the most important thing is to be able to label the feeling, label the emotion. I had know what my feelings were. I just knew I felt horrible. A therapist had to help me label what those things were that were making me uncomfortable. And I was in group therapy when I was in rehab one day, almost 30 years ago in a couple months. I can't believe it. And this therapist looked at me and she says, God, you're angry. And I started fighting with her. I'm not, blah, 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 blah. And then it was just like, she looked at me and she pointed her finger at me. She said, that's it. That's what you're feeling. That's anger. I had no idea.
Right.
Even what I'm feeling. So I think a therapist helps people label what the problem is. I'm nervous. I feel down. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm unmotivated. You know, whatever that is. If there's no label, you can't fix it. Once we can clarify what it is that you're feeling, then we can go into where that started, how long have you been feeling there. And I don't know how much y'all know about Freud, but I like him too. And the school, I went to Madonna University in Livonia, and Sigmund Freud was pretty much God there. That's who we studied. And he really teaches that we have to go way, way back and dig the roots all the way to our childhood. Who raised us, who taught us what we learned. And a lot of it, I got to tell you, is unlearning. A lot of therapy is unlearning all of that crap. That, not that it was wrong, not right for us today, not right for me today.
Right.
You know? But once you can identify the feeling, you have to understand that feelings don't come from nowhere. They come from the head. So the thinking is the thing that causes the feeling. If you're feeling some kind of way, you got to go back and say, what made me feel that way?
Right.
Him, her, the situation. Recognize that we have no control over any other person or situation. Once we realize that, let me tell you a story. I was in a restaurant yesterday, and it's a pizza place. We're ordering pizza. It was in Madison Heights. There were 8 of us. We got these 2 large pizzas and a big salad. And we were between soccer games. My 2 grandsons had soccer games. So we had some time to spend, but we also had to watch the time. And for some reason, our order was taking a little bit longer. I'm just sitting there chatting with my grandsons and having a good old time. And I mean, I can't control what's going on in the kitchen.
Right.
I can't control any orders are coming in, how many people are coming in, what's going on for carry out. You know, you go to a restaurant and you just order your food and you sit and wait.
Right.
Well, a couple of people I was sitting with, family members, were noticing that other people that had walked in way after us were getting their pizzas. And they started to get aggravated about that. And then one person we were with actually yelled out to the waitress and said something to the effect of, you know, what the fuck is going on here? Those people got their food. We didn't get our food. We've been here longer. And, you know, what's going on? What's going on? And, you know, I got to give her credits because she stayed calm and she quietly explained to this very rude person that I'll never go out with again for food. You know, you guys ordered some deep dish pizzas and those take longer to cook. And then you ordered a thin crust and we just want to get everything coordinated, bring it out at the same time. And
right.
Mumbling under their breath. And I looked at the person who was the rudest and I said, you know, are you catching a flight or something? Are you in a hurry? And oh my God, he yelled at me. And he said, we're being mistreated. And I'm like, mistreated? And I let him scream. And I said, I'm sorry you feel mistreated. And that was the end of that. But I'm going to ask everybody a question who's out there listening. What makes somebody react like that? because their pizza's taking too long to come to the table.
I would personally say being hangry, that sometimes changes some people that you would never imagine. You would think that this is the sweetest person. You would have probably thought that God sent them down here. They were such an angel. And then this one time, they were so hungry. And then they run, and then they get to smelling the food that they want, that they craving for. And then every delicious pizza that flies by or drives by, it's just enticing them. And they like, you know what? Fuck that. Now I ain't gonna wait no motherfucking more. I'm hungry. Now I know y'all know, not even thinking that, well, this dough takes a little bit longer to cook, or this cheese takes a little bit longer to melt. You know what I'm saying? You don't think about none of that when you're hangry. It's an anger.
You're very lovely. You gave him the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, I know this character very well, and he thinks everything's about him.
Mm.
He took it personally, like I'm being mistreated. And I just didn't even have any conversation because I didn't want to tell him he's not that important. They're not mistreating you. They don't even know you.
Right.
Out here. But yeah, he took it personally.
Mm.
And he assumed that for some reason he was being ignored or mistreated.
Mm.
So you see, his feelings came from a thought. Oh, they're mistreating me. They're rude. They're ignoring me for some reason.
Right.
I'm a different culture. I'm a different race. They're, feeding everybody, taking everybody else their food and leaving us alone. But AA also taught me in my recovery and everything I've learned thus far is it's not about me.
Right.
Not about me. And to not make assumptions and not take things personally. So when you check your thoughts, you can change the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed, his thought was, I'm important. They're ignoring me for some reason, and then he got the feeling, the anger.
Mm-hmm.
And the action that came after that was disrespectful yelling and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
The woman didn't deserve that.
Right.
My head was saying they're busy, they're doing whatever they have to do back there. I can't control anything. I'm just going to enjoy my time now. Therefore, I felt comfortable, and I sat there.
Right. Right.
I think it starts in your own head.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that's why I always say, especially on mental health talk, sometimes we mind fuck ourselves.
That's what it is.
We do.
You're right. It is. That's the answer. That's the answer to therapy. Mind fuck yourself.
Yes.
And do a day.
I love that.
Situation. That's perfectly said. Unfuck your mind.
Yes, definitely. Now, have you ever had a client get angry with you?
Oh, of course.
How did you deal with that?
And I'm a very sensitive, emotional person.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, especially if it's unprovoked. Boy, that's a good question. I gotta say, it's probably more displaced anger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think ever, to be honest, I don't think they ever get angry with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're displacing their anger at me about somebody or somebody else. I see a lot of people on probation, and I have to remember I'm not the bad guy.
Right.
And I have to tell them I'm not the bad guy.
Right.
And then once we talk about that, and I say, no, I don't get kickbacks from the court. None of that happens like that. Don't think that happens. And I'm not in cahoots with them.
Right.
You're my private, you and I are private. I only tell them that you came, we talked, you did your time with me. I don't tell them anything personal. I have to teach them. I have to educate them. But those would be the only things that, somebody would get angry with me because maybe there was something I needed to tell the probation officer because it was for their own good. they'd get angry.
Mm.
So those are real. I mean, I don't make those decisions lightly. I usually call a few people, talk it over. I have people. I don't do all this by my own.
Right.
If something complicated, I get help.
Right.
I
Right.
talk.
Facts. You don't want to make the wrong decision.
Yeah. You know, that's another thing that people don't understand is, you know, we therapists, we don't think we're anything special. Maybe there's a few out there that do.
Mm.
But I went to a good program. I went to a good school, and we had a lot of ethics classes. We were always taught, you're not that good, you're not that important. Consult, consult, consult. Talk to other people before you do something that, you know, might piss somebody off or might be a real mistake. Yeah, we make mistakes, and then I apologize.
Right. Yeah. Now, how do you help someone who's always angry?
That's hard. That's a problem because I have to help them, as we talked about earlier. They don't even understand or know that they're angry, or they're in denial about it. No, I'm not angry.
Right.
So it's a slow process to help them to see that feeling. You probably mislabeled it, and that it is anger.
Right.
And then we go up to the thought comes first, then the feeling or the anger follows, and then the behavior comes. So it goes like thought, feeling, behavior. Right. So I have to help them to understand where that came from. Even if they don't even believe they're angry. What's making you feel this way?
Now, you know, because growing up, a lot of us wasn't taught that, you know, how to describe what feeling we feel. And I talked about this the last mental health talk, like, you know, if we were taught that when we were kids, you know, how to identify how we're feeling, I think a lot of us would have turned out a lot different. So how do you deal with, you know, the ones that like literally don't know, they don't have any idea what feeling they feel, like they don't even know how to explain what they feel?
Yeah, it's educational process. There's a chart that I usually, I do all my work over the computer now because I'm half retired. I'm semi-retired, but you can access what we call a feeling chart online. So just Google feeling chart or feeling faces. Excuse me. And what'll come up is a nice kind of big poster with about 50 different facial expressions on them, like emojis. Right. But underneath the emoji or the facial expression, there's a word, and it's a feeling word. So there are so many different feeling words. You'd be surprised. So that's what I do a lot. I'll say, get online and Google feeling words or feeling charts and look at how many different emotions there are. So I can see it in somebody's face, but it's the emoji thing. It seriously is. That'll give you a lot of wisdom and knowledge, and that's a good first step to figuring out what that feeling is by looking at those faces. So that's pretty much where I start.
Wow. Now, what if somebody's face is always the same?
Say that again?
What if somebody's face is just always the same? They just like this all the time.
Oh my God, Janelle. You know what? Therapy's not always successful for many reasons. Because people aren't willing to share. That probably means they don't trust me. There's usually a level of trust involved there that they, for some reason, and if they stay long enough, we can figure it out. Right. They're unwilling to let me see behind the mask.
Because that is definitely a mask.
Yes. And I realized, again, this all came after sobriety and going to AA meetings and, of course, going back to school, too. But I was raised in a family with, I'm going to say, no serious mental health problems or addiction that I saw. my mom was a closet drinker, and her drinking really progressed after we were all grown up and out of the house. She had this like empty nester thing, and she was it's like her purpose in life was gone once all the kids got married and moved out. So she started to self-medicate with alcohol. But anyway, back to my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't allowed to express any emotion that you would consider negative, because that would be a sign of disrespect. If we wanted to complain, or if I was angry about something as a kid, it wasn't tolerated.
Mm.
It was labeled as disrespect.
Right.
I can remember just trying to talk one time at the kitchen table. My dad worked at Chrysler. He'd come home tired and hot in the summer, and if we started to try to have family discussion and to share our feelings, he would just slam his fist on the table, and all the glasses of milk and water Kool-Aid were shaking. He didn't want to hear it.
Mm.
I remember going to my mom and trying to talk to her about this little boyfriend that I had when I was 13. I had a big crush. She was not present.
Mm-hmm.
She had no interest.
Mm.
So the parents were emotionally absent, and I don't know why.
Right.
Because my parents weren't into telling the truth about stuff. Everything was perfect. Everything's perfect here. I can remember doing an exercise for school and trying to get some information from my mother on family tree, family history.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody in prison, anybody pregnant before they got married, any abortions, any murders, any suicides. She wouldn't say anything. She wouldn't tell me anything.
Mm.
No, everything was just perfect.
Mm.
And that's when I knew it's just like, wow, I'll never learn anything from her about why she was the way she was, and then I became the way I was.
Mm.
But yeah, there were no feelings appreciated in my house unless they were joy and happiness. You weren't allowed to cry or be pissed off.
Wow. Mm.
It's because, you have nothing to be mad about. There's food on the table, and, it was kind of like that.
Right. Now, before we wrap it up, I do have a few more questions. So if you guys are just now tuning in, Instagram will be wrapping up already, but we are still live on YouTube, Big O, and Facebook. So follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, and Big O. Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram, and my main YouTube Instagram, and my .com, which is THA Real JANELL. We have Miss MaryAnn on all the way in Detroit, and I'm definitely appreciative for you being on the couch and answering all these questions for me.
You're so beautiful. I remember the first time that I met you, and you're just as beautiful today. Can't wait to see you again.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again. Now, how do you feel about online therapy?
That's a very good question. I had to start with the pandemic because the clinics were closed down. My clinic was closed down, and my boss was really wanting to keep things safe, so she kept closed for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during those 2 years, things changed in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And once the clinic reopened, I didn't want to go back. I went back for a little while.
Right.
But I'd been doing the telehealth for so long. For me, it makes absolutely no difference at all. I feel like I'm sitting in a room with my patient. And I've heard my clients say the same thing to me.
Mm.
There are clients that I've been working with for a couple of years. We've never met in person.
Wow.
But we don't feel that way.
Right.
So for people who think that it can't work, it works.
Right. That's dope.
It really does work. And I think it's because if you have the capacity to just stop looking at your face and pretend you're in a room, I mean, you'll get the hang of it real quickly.
Right. Wow. Now, what are some triggers for you?
It took me 10 years of sobriety to really figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to that anger.
Mm-hmm.
I mislabeled it. I thought I was feeling stressed or anxious or agitated, but it was anger. And I think it goes back to the fact that anger was not an accepted emotion in my home. And so I learned to stuff it and not address that there would be something shameful about admitting you're angry.
Right.
So I stayed in denial about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's anger and frustration.
Mm.
I mean, trying to get on your show with you today on this podcast, the frustration. I start to get that feeling.
Oh, yeah. And you know,
control this.
This was really important to me.
Oh, I want medicine. I want to drink.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes I get I don't know if it's frustrated or I feel so strongly about something and it makes my feet really cold. Like if I feel real angry or something or real sad, my feet get cold, like physically cold, like and I like it's like I'm like chilly.
You know, people don't understand that there's a connection between the body and the mind. And when we get a feeling that's making us uncomfortable, whatever that feeling is, our body does things. Like we have glands above our kidneys called the adrenal glands. Those are the glands that squirt out the adrenaline and the epinephrine and the things that constrict your blood vessels that make your heart go faster and your hands and feet get cold. So your brain knows that you're feeling a certain way. And you've got pituitary gland and other areas in our brain that are responsible, not totally 100%, but, you know, I'm sure you've heard of the endorphins and the feel-good things that antidepressants help us with, like serotonin.
Right.
I heard about that. That's all related. So that's why we get sweaty hands when we're nervous. Yeah, our hands can get cold, our feet can get cold.
And then sometimes I'll get mad and it's like my face gets sweaty. And it's like just my face.
I was in a situation with a real toxic person a couple of years ago. I was in North Carolina visiting a family member. And he was so dysfunctional and so toxic. I started to get this pain in my neck and in the back of my head, something I've never felt before in my life. More like, it was full and pressure, like a pressure thing. And my sister-in-law said, let me check your blood pressure. And I said, I had low blood pressure. I don't have any problem. She checked my blood pressure. It was 200 over 100.
Ooh.
For me, it's usually like 100 over 60. That's what that toxic person did to me. I got so upset with his behavior. I felt so disrespected and angry that it drove my blood pressure up so high, I felt like I was having a stroke. So the body and the brain and the spirit are all intertwined and intermingled.
Thank you for sharing that. And my last question is, what can someone do to help, like, calm things down? Like, if they're one of those ones that get so angry that they get cold, or, so nervous, or, that their body changes. What can they do?
The most important thing to do, in my opinion, is to repeat this every day, over and over again. It's called the Serenity Prayer. Do you know it?
No, tell me.
I'm going to tell you. Every single day, over and over again, when I'm feeling like that, it goes like this. God, or whoever, or whatever, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
I always get that part messed up.
The courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So just like in that restaurant with the pizza.
Right.
That's the things I cannot change.
Right.
And that's really digested, incorporated into my spirit, is that I have no control over people, places, and situations. And to recognize, maybe I can control this. And if I can't control this, maybe I can change it. if I can't change it now because I'm too scared or the situation's not right, I can choose to not act, but hope to build courage and then someday change. And, it took 14 years of sobriety before I had the courage to get a divorce, to leave my husband, my abusive husband. It took me 14 years to get the courage to change what I could.
Wow.
But that's the key. That's the key, is accepting what is. And a few other slogans like live and let live.
Right.
If somebody else is the focus of the problem, they just live and let live. Let them do what they're going to do and accept that. And also try to label things as what I call NBDs. No big deal.
Right.
Don't make mountains out of molehills and try really hard to, I remember sitting at my mother's deathbed, holding her hand through her last breath and thinking, no big deal. I know it sounds crazy. No big deal. You can do this, MaryAnn. And I did it. I never thought I'd be able to get through that without a drink. No big deal, MaryAnn.
And you did it.
Yeah.
I know that's right. What would you like to leave the people with?
My gosh. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. That's a courageous thing to do. You're strong when you ask for help, because I know how hard that is to do. So that's what I want to leave everybody with. You're not weak when you get help. You're strong when you get the courage to go and say, I can't figure this out. Help me. That's strength.
That's real strength. Thank you so much, MaryAnn, for being on the couch.
You're welcome. I'm here for you and everybody anytime. Just give me a buzz. Shoot me a text.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was Mental Health Talk, and I will bring up Mental Health Talk again next month on the couch. So don't worry. Don't worry. Next month is my birthday, and I will be dropping my new album. I'm super excited. I'm ready to share it. Thank you. I love you guys so much. And it's only Monday, so I will see you guys again tomorrow. I love you guys. Have a beautiful night. It's the Couch Chronicles, and it ain't no fucking limits.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.